Hi everybody, here is my line drawing. I set up my palette. This is a watercolor palette. I put out 4 things of gouache. Right now, all the brand is Holbein. So these are called wells. So the smaller wells, technically, you're supposed to put your gouache in there. I did like a pea size amount. And then, sorry, hair everywhere. And then these are your mixing wells. So this is where you mix. And then I have my 2 jars of water. One to make a clean mixture of color, the other one to clean off my brush. Instead of paper towel, I like to use a cloth. I just feel like it absorbs the water in the brush better. For brushes, I have a small filbert, a small round, and another filbert. So I'm going to demonstrate how to thin out the body of gouache to be like watercolor. Everything's going everywhere. So the first thing that you want to do is you don't want to dunk your brush in the water. You only want to dip the tip for water control. So I just did that. Now I go over to my color, and I'm going to start with the bigger areas in my painting. So I'm going to take some of this green. This is a cadmium green light. And then I'm going to clean off my brush. This will be my dirty cup of water. Okay, then I take my cloth and I press. Again, press. Then the next step is taking some of this leaf green and mixing the two. But see how this is pretty sticky still. So I'm going to dip the tip of my brush in the clean water, which I did. Now that body is thinned out to be like watercolor. And then I'm looking at the texture of the grass. And rather than doing a wash, I'm going to keep it stippled, I think. Or maybe I should do a wash here. I'll do that. There's my watercolor bead. There again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to travel with it. And see, I'm just taking the tip of my brush and I'm traveling across the surface. I'm traveling with that watercolor bead. I'm pulling it down. I'm weaving around my chicken. When you run out of paint, you just go back to your well and load your brush and then go back to where you left off on your painting. I'm just using the tip and just traveling with that watercolor bead. So gouache is an opaque watercolor. Its base is titanium white, so that's why when it dries, it has a chalky matte finish compared to watercolor, which is translucent and also has a shine. So the more water you add to your mixture, you're lightening the value. See how this value is a little darker than this value? So if I want that saturation again, I just have to make my color again and make sure the consistency of my paint is thin, like watercolor. And yes, it is. So right now I'm just blocking everything, and I'm starting with the bigger areas in my painting. Gouache is a flat medium, so it's sharp too when it dries. And I feel especially like right now I'm thinning out the body to be like watercolor, so I don't think it won't be as noticeable. But like if you use it at its traditional application, where it's like half and half the creamer that you put in your coffee, or if you use it even more thickly, it dries really fast, especially when you're thinning it out like I am here. I thinned out the body of the gouache to be like watercolor, so it's pretty thin. So it takes like about like 5 minutes to dry. Now, when we work on the gouache being thicker, then it could take up to like 30 minutes for it to dry when we use it really thickly. Okay, the next side I want to do is the other side. Let's see. I'm going to take some of this raw umber and then this green color. Maybe a tiny bit of red too. Oop, need more of this color then. Need more green. Okay, so now that's pretty thick, so I gotta thin it out. So I'm gonna add more water. And it's still a little thick, so then again, I'm gonna need to change my water because now it's getting all, they're both becoming dirty. So it's still a little too thick. There we go. So I'm gonna tone it like I did. I'm gonna go like that with the other surface. I'm just traveling with that watercolor bead. Okay. So the next thing I just want to try, and I need to change my water, but I don't want to change it right now, but I really should change it. So right now, see, I use very little water on my brush and see how it's thicker. So this isn't the half and half consistency. It's a little too thick. So if I want to thin it down, I just add a little bit more water. And see how creamy that is? That's the half and half consistency. So finding this color where it would be appropriate. A little bit in the face. Oop, a little wet there still. So I'm going to let things dry, but I showed you how to thin out the body of the gouache to be like watercolor, and I showed you how to start making the traditional gouache application at the half and half consistency, but I'll also go over more with that next week. Thank you.